Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever heard or been told, change your lifestyle or you're going to die? Now, as a military medic, I heard that more than once to various patients. Now, this may be a difficult episode for some people, but it's something that we need to hear. It's something that we need to be aware of. Now, diet is so important for our health and well-being. Now, for more than 50 years, the American Heart Association has been stressing the importance of diet, yet most people ignore it. My name's Frank Zaccari. This is Life Altering Events, and we're going to look into this today. Now, the research tells us that when faced with a decision to either change your lifestyle or you're going to die, 90% of people will not change. 90%. Now, why is that? I know we're creatures of habit. We have our culture, our environment, our heritage, our genetics often determine how we act, how we eat, and choices that we make. Now, changing something as important as our diet takes a great deal of time and effort. Most people aren't going to take that time or that effort. My guest today is Kristi Tonabene, and she faced that change or die scenario. Now, she chose to change, and she's here to share her story and explain how we can change if we choose to. Kristi, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you so much, Frank. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be with you to share what is so important to everyone.
Absolutely. This is a critical issue. Now, Kristi, give the viewers a short overview of your family's health history and the impact that it had on you in this decision you made.
Well, I didn't know where I was headed when I started. I just know that menopause hit me like a ton of bricks. And when I encountered some digestive issues, I started working to change so I could eat and feel better. Well, what I didn't know was that in the process, I encountered pain. And oh, was that pain familiar? My grandmother had it, my dad's mother, and my father had it. And I went, oh boy, if I have this, I am not going to live well. So I worked and went through a process, a step-by-step process to figure out what I needed to eat to feel better. Well, in the meantime, 2 of my cousins died before the age of 70. And they wanted to know if Lou Gehrig's ran in our family.
Wow.
I had taken a test and I knew that I had the gene. Was this what caused the pain? Well, maybe it was. So I researched further and I knew I had a vitamin B requirement, but I didn't know exactly what. So I kept experimenting with different recipes and I felt a little bit better, but the pain still existed and I couldn't figure out quite what it was. So then I tried the Pathway Fit, which is still available, I found out, and found out that I needed riboflavins. When I added riboflavin to my diet, I felt much better. The challenge came when it was processed riboflavins. I used to do well on cereal and stuff like that, which are fortified, but it stopped working and they go, uh-oh, what's this? Well, then I started reading different websites and I found out that fortified isn't good. It causes cancer because too many folic acids build up, causing cancer. So I found out that I had to get it from natural food. And I felt better with a little romaine lettuce. I felt better with a little figs. I felt better with a little almonds. And on and on and on till I fine-tuned my diet so that I can walk, I can feel good, have no pain, digest well, and look pretty damn good for 67.
Yes, you do. Tell us about this Pathway Fit, Kristi.
The Pathway Fit is a test that tells you what zone you need to eat in, whether you're a low carb, a low fat, or somewhere in between, like a balanced or Mediterranean. My husband, I found out, is a balanced, but he's having a little difficulty with it because he doesn't quite know how much protein to eat. And so fine-tuning our foods takes a little bit of personal intuition, knowing when you feel good and when you don't feel good, and finding out what works best for you.
Now, is this more of a trial and error kind of an approach with a diet? I mean, how did you do this?
There is another test called the SWAMI, which is the serotyping with additional modifying inventories test, that tells you the exact foods that you need to eat.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, when you find your exact foods, then you find out how it applies to your B vitamins, your magnesium, your zinc, and your glutathione precursors.
Okay, put that in layman terms.
When you find your best foods, you support your metabolic systems. And your metabolic systems work in concert. The COMT, the PEMT, the MTHFR, the MTRR, all those work together. Those are the gene names.
Okay.
And they all work together in concert to produce and use the compounds to power your ATP to run your cells to give you energy.
Now, when we spoke, you mentioned this interest in naturopathic solutions and this MTHFR gene that you just mentioned again. What is this gene? Again, in layman's terms, what is it, and what does it cause, and what does it do?
This gene is a polymorphism of a gene where people that have it don't process their folates properly.
Okay, what's a folate?
A folate is like the things you find in food. It's the green leafy vegetables, it's the celery, it's the asparagus, it's the romaine lettuce. It's the stuff that's found naturally in foods that help you run these biochemical cycles.
Now, aren't these the stuff that we hear, again, as a lay person, we're supposed to eat that stuff?
We're supposed to eat green leafy vegetables for sure.
Yet if you have this gene, it has a negative impact?
An aberrant impact. It doesn't give your cells the energy it needs. So you may lose your energy, you may lose your digestion, you may develop overgrowth of candida, it may cause all kinds of problems.
And then these various tests, like the pathway and the other one, will help you determine what the best fit for you is. Is that how you went about it?
It will help you determine which foods you need, and then there is a process by which you add these foods based on what your body needs, because everybody needs B2, B9, B12, thiamine, a little zinc, a little magnesium, and that's basically it.
Now, is what I see in here a number of people saying, well, I'll take a B complex, because you just mentioned a whole bunch of Bs there. Is that adequate, or does that not provide what you're discussing?
It depends. A B complex is something that if you don't need the B6, it can cause non-fatal heart attacks if you overdo it. So I don't take a B complex. I eat it, and I take maybe a B12 sublingual sometimes, not regularly, or a 5-methylfolate, which is a methylated form of folate. But Sorry Foods has a nutritional yeast that's non-fortified, which is good for you.
Okay. Now, when we spoke, you talked about creating recipes that help people fine tune how to prepare various meals so they feel good. Give us some examples of that.
Well, I started out with turkey chili. I started out with turkey gumbo. And as blood type O's, they can have tomatoes, but the tomatoes started to bother me. So I had to find recipes without tomatoes. So I started with chow mein. I started with turkey with artichokes. I started with turkey soup and went on from there to simpler things, because as we get older, it's kind of a pain to cook.
Yeah, it is.
So I found frozen asparagus at Walmart. Yay! All I have to do is
Wow.
pop it in the microwave.
Now you've worked with some people on this, and there were some pretty amazing stories. Give us an example or two.
Well, I had an 80-year-old friend who didn't believe this worked. And she participated in some of my programs and used some of the recipes I created and lost 90 pounds in 5 months. But she used the Whole30 diet. She cut out all dairy, all sugar, all grains, all beans. There was one more, all sugar, dairy, grain. Yeah, I don't remember what the last one was.
I have a question here now for a typical individual family. Everyone's busy. It
Mhm.
sounds like it takes a long time to prepare this kind of meal. Is that the case, or is it fairly simple?
No, no. You can cook salmon when you forget, you can cook it frozen.
Hmm.
You can stick it in, it only takes 40 minutes.
Okay.
You can open a can of sardines. That's fast and easy.
Mhm. Now, you
You-
also mentioned when we spoke, it's a term that I'm not familiar with, but and maybe many viewers aren't either. What's a genotype?
A genotype is the further clarification and determination of which foods are best for you based on a few markers, like your height, the length of the torso to the length of your legs, the length of your upper legs to your lower legs, your fingerprints, the length and width of your head, and the size of your waist.
Hmm. And is this part of the blood type?
It is an extension of the blood type, because what I found from reading all the posts on Facebook of different people who are working through this, that liver, which is something some of us don't like, is not good for us anyway.
Correct.
And some of us are not supposed to eat it, even though we think they should. And some
Mhm.
of them can eat it, even though we think they can't.
Oh. Now, you mentioned there are 6 genotypes. So what are the characteristics of this, and how does somebody determine what their genotype is?
Someone determines what their genotype is by the measurements that I stated.
Hmm.
And then by sending it through a program, that is the SWAMI, which is the serotyping with additional modifying inventories test. And
Okay.
it's a program that Diadamo put out that takes all this information and puts it through a calculation to determine what foods you need to eat.
Mhm. Now, are this individual, is he a naturopathic practitioner or an integrative medicine practitioner?
He started this because his father started it, and he completed a book, I think, in about 1996.
Hmm.
And I discovered it in 2000 at the beginning of my menopausal journey, and kept using it because I felt better, but kept going through it, reading what I should eat and not eat, and eventually ending up with the SWAMI test, or the serotyping with additional modifying inventories.
Hmm. That's interesting. Now, when you and I spoke on last time, you said that there's some of these traits. There's a hunter and a gatherer and a teacher, etc. What's all that mean?
I sent you a PDF of it, and I didn't read it, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
So all I can say is that my friend is a hunter. She's
Hmm.
tall, and the length of her legs is longer than her torso. I'm an explorer. My torso is longer than my legs. My daughter is a gatherer, and gatherers sometimes like to hold on to their food, but she's thin. And my friend who does this test in Mexico, her husband is a gatherer and also thin. So you don't have to be fat and be a gatherer.
Mm-hmm.
A nomad is someone who has a propensity to live more off of, I think, well, my gatherer's daughter can have beef 4 times a week and liver, and I don't think
Mm-hmm.
she likes liver because we never cooked it in our household.
Right.
But my hunter friend does not have, and she's a blood type O also, like my daughter. She does
Mm-hmm.
not have liver on her list, and she hates it, so she's happy.
That would be too, because I don't like it either.
Yeah. And
Um,
then my friend Marcia, who's a teacher, I don't know what her traits are. I think her torso is longer than her legs also, but she has different characteristics that in her fingerprints and stuff like that, that determine her genetic type or her genotype.
Here's something that's come up to me multiple times. You watch television, you listen to radio, whatever, you talk to people, and it seems every month there's some new diet. And this new diet is going to dramatically change your life and improve everything. And so many people bounce back and forth. Now,
Well, if one
is this
thing works
dangerous?
for everybody, it would be great, but one thing doesn't work for everybody. And then when you throw MTHFR in the mix, you really got some work to do.
Mm-hmm. So what do you tell people in your professional life who come in and say, well, I'm going to try this keto diet now, or but they were on something before, and now I'm going to try the Atkins diet. Now I'm going to, as I said, every week there's something new, so some kind of new diet. So how are you counseling people with this?
Well, I tried the Atkins diet and it didn't work for me because I didn't have my right proteins
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't digest anything. But my friend whose sister cured her own diabetes by eating keto,
Mm-hmm.
I said, what do you mean by keto? She says, well, they eat protein, but they eat vegetables. And I went, okay, that's fine with me because I am a proponent of the zone diet, which says eat a protein and a vegetable for all your meals.
Mm-hmm.
Try to eat your fruits separately. So anyway, her sister lost weight and the husband is a stick because all they eat is meat and broccoli and meat and beets and meat and salad and meat, and that's all they eat.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with that because that's what I eat. I eat a meat and a vegetable and a meat and a salad.
Now again, as I said, it was when I was in the military, we had a gentleman who came in 3 or 4 times with chest pain, pending heart attack. And I remember after about the second, maybe the third time, the doctor point blank telling him, if you do not change this diet, you are going to die.
Well, what do you do when you're always hungry? What do you do when you can't stop eating?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was my other challenge. Why was I always hungry? And I found out I had triggers, and that happened to be sugar, happened to be wheat, happened to be all processed foods. And when I cut those out, I wasn't so hungry.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. And you determine, because a lot of people in the world we live in, they want a quick fix. Okay. They don't want to do a lot of research. I want to go someplace. I want to talk to somebody and have them say, this is what you need to do, and here's how you can do it.
Right.
Is that what you provide? That's
exactly what I provide. Is the what and the how. And
Perfect.
the support to guide you through it.
That's important because when Kristi and I first spoke, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is incredibly complex. All right, and how am I going to learn all this stuff? And where am I going to learn all this stuff? And who has time to prepare all these different kinds of foods, maybe these different kinds of ways. And then you have a recipe book, is that right?
I have a book with recipes in it.
Okay. And the key for most of us is it's got to be fast and it has to be simple. Okay. Is that how you address this?
That's the way I love to address it because I hate to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's wild. So, ladies and gentlemen, diet is critical. You need to determine, particularly as we get older, what fits. Because at 20 years old, eating pizza at 3 in the morning and drinking beer was no problem.
Right.
At 60 years old, eating pizza almost any time seems to be a problem. So
at least you can take off the top and throw away the crust. That's what my first step was.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Well, Kristi, we're just about out of time here. What last thought do you want to leave with the viewers? What takeaway do they need to go out to leave this with?
Eat a protein with a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, broccoli is great for everyone. If broccoli doesn't make you happy, maybe you need to use sprouts. If sprouts don't make you happy, maybe you need to use the supplement called Life Cell, because you may find that asparagus is more important than broccoli, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't eat it all. You don't need to eat it all.
I see. Well, this has been interesting to say the least. For most of our people, they're still going to be confused.
Right.
How do they get a hold of you?
Talkwithkristi.com. Schedule a call, and I'd be happy to at least talk to you and see where you're at and see how we can work together.
So, folks, if you're at a point in your life where you're just not feeling well, you're feeling sluggish, you're tired, you're always hungry, it's worth making this connection and having this conversation. You can save yourself a lot of pain and suffering trying to figure it out on your own. Kristi has been there. She's done that and is providing this kind of advice for you.
Support. There you go.
And support is the operative word here, because you can read a recipe, you can see something on the Food Network, and chances are you're not going to do it anyway. But you have to have that ongoing support, which Kristi can provide for you and with you.
Well, thank you so much, Frank. And if they want to talk with Kristi, you can.
But we'll get that out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just about out of time. I thank Kristi once again for sharing this story. And change is possible. You have to want to do it, and you have to take that first step and reach out to do it.
Right.
Now, no matter what obstacles life's going to throw in your way, and there's many, as we just heard here today, please do 3 things. Look up, get up, never, ever give up.
Never, ever give up.
Start moving forward, and better times and better people will come into your life. If you want more information about Kristi, you now have her website, or you can contact me. I'll make sure she gets the information. And let me leave you with this, as we do every week. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Kristi showed us where many of those rocks are. So join me again next week. We'll discuss another life-altering event. Thank you.